Okay, we're going to talk about the notes for um, Chapter 1, Objective 3. This is going to be the 11 organ systems of the body. So what you're going to need to know are the functions of each organ system and the organs associated. So for the integumentary system, the function is to provide protection, regulate temperature. There are sweat glands which are part of the integumentary system. So those sweat glands help regulate body temperature, prevents water loss. The skin prevents water loss from the body, helps keep you hydrated. Burn victims, one of the problems they have is dehydration because you don't have any skin. Helps produce vitamin D. Uh, Vitamin D is made in the skin. It starts the process of being made in the skin, but then it ends up going to the kidneys for its final turning into an active form. So it starts in the skin, ends up finishing up in the kidneys, but it helps in the production of vitamin D, and it contains sensory receptors such as pain and touch. Organs associated: skin, hair, nails, sweat glands, oil glands. Skeletal system, another one that we're going to discuss in Anatomy 1. The skeletal system provides protection and support, which I don't think that's probably a surprise. Allows body movements. It attaches with the muscles, which are attached to the bone. They contract and they help move the body. So the two organ systems together help allow body movements. Produces blood cells. This is red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Also stores minerals and fat. So keep in mind the minerals. When we use the word minerals, we're talking about elements. So the minerals that it stores is calcium and phosphorus. And believe it or not, your bones, there's fat in there. So yes, they store fat. Organs associated: bones, cartilage, which is found between bones to help bones prevent rubbing up against each other, ligaments, which attaches one bone to another bone, and joints, which is where one bone meets up with another bone. The muscular system, also one that we're going to be talking about in Anatomy 1, produces body movements, again, when they're attached to the bones, maintains posture, and produces body heat. We talked about this a little bit. When the body temperature drops, negative feedback, one of the effectors in that is muscle contraction. Causes you to shiver. Why? Because the muscles contracting, a byproduct of that is heat. So yes, it produces body heat. Organs associated: muscles and tendons. Tendons are a type of connective tissue that actually connect the muscle to the bone. Lymphatic and immune. This is one that's probably a little bit tougher to figure out what's going on with, not one we're as familiar with. So the lymphatic and immune system usually talk about together because a lot of both of them have a lot of an immune response. Their job is to remove foreign substances. So pathogens, okay, that they're kind of the bad guys. So the job of the lymphatic and immune is to get rid of them, get them out of the body, from either the blood or the lymph. The lymph is the fluid that's found in the lymphatic vessels. If you look, everything in green over here in the picture, that's part of your lymphatic system. So it is literally all throughout your body. Combats disease because the lymphatic fluid, as well as the immune system, white blood cells. White blood cells is the disease-fighting cell, and it's found within the lymphatic system. You have a lot of white blood cells that are housed in the lymph nodes, which are the nodules that you see attached to these lymph vessels. So as the fluid travels, it's going through these nodes. Maintains tissue fluid balance. So your tissues end up getting fluid in them, especially like if you've been standing all day or something like that, your ankles swell. What's causing all that? Well, some of it is fluid that's building up in the tissues. So your lymphatic system pulls the fluid out of the tissues and then sends it back to the circulatory system, which is where it's supposed to be. Where did the fluid come from in the first place? It came from your blood. Due to high blood pressure and things like that, the fluid leaves the circulatory system, enters the tissues, and the job of the lymphatic system is to return it back to return that excess fluid back to the circulatory system. And also, lymphatic system also absorbs fat from the digestive system. So let's think about this. You eat a hamburger. The hamburger's got protein, fat, carbohydrates. It goes into your stomach. It all gets digested. Small intestine is the next place it goes. The whole purpose of you eating food and breaking up into small pieces is so that you can get those nutrients into the circulatory system, so those nutrients can get to all the cells in the body. Circulatory system is the transport mechanism to get those nutrients everywhere. Well, fats actually don't go straight into the circulatory system. They first go into the lymphatic system. Carbohydrates, protein, eat those. They go straight into the circulatory system. Everybody can get that stuff. Fats, however, first go into the lymphatic system. So it's digestive system straight into the lymphatic system. Organs associated. These are ones you may not have heard too much of before. The thymus gland, which sits above the heart. Lymphatic vessels, which are represented by all these little green lines. Lymph nodes, the circular structures. Spleen looks a lot different than it does in the rat, than it does in a human. Tonsils, those aren't really pictured on this. They're up in the mouth, nose area. And then bone marrow, which is in the middle of the bone. The respiratory system, one you're probably a little familiar with, exchanges oxygen and carbon dioxide. So you take in oxygen, it enters the circulatory system, you exhale carbon dioxide, the waste product from all the cells. Regulates blood pH. Blood pH has to be maintained between 7.35 and 7.45, and if it's not, that causes certain types of proteins called enzymes to denature, change shape, and they won't function anymore. And it will eventually cause the body to die because those enzymes that have denatured due to a change in pH no longer are able to help with chemical reactions. And without that, again, the body will die. So regulating blood pH is a big responsibility. Organs associated, lungs, trachea, respiratory passages. Digestive system, one you're probably familiar with, performs the mechanical and chemical process of digestion and absorption of nutrients. Mechanical digestion, that's the chewing of the food, just breaking it down into smaller pieces with the teeth. The chemical digestion is when enzymes come in and chemically break that food down into even smaller and smaller pieces. And then, like we said previously with the lymphatic system, you have to get the good stuff out of the digestive system into the body, such as the circulatory system for protein and carbohydrates, into the lymphatic system with the fat. It eliminates waste. Whatever did not get absorbed goes out of the body. We got to get it out. So it's going to go out in the form of feces. That's the waste we're talking about here, through the anus. Organs associated, again, mouth, esophagus, stomach, large and small intestines. And then the gallbladder and liver, they're part of the digestive system, but they sit outside the digestive system, adding material in. So they bring fluid into. The food doesn't actually pass through those structures. Nervous system, one of my favorite organ systems. It's represented in yellow here. Definitely one we're going to be talking about. It is a huge regulatory system. It detects sensation. It interprets information. It communicates with cells. And it all does this through electrical signals. So we talked about how you've got sensory receptors throughout the body, maybe picking up things like body temperature. And it sends that information to the brain, the control center. How does it get there? It gets there by traveling by way of nerves. Nerves allow that information, carry that information from point A to point B. Let's say the brain wants to tell the muscles, hey, it's time to contract over there because the body temperature is kind of low and we need you to heat it up, so we need these muscles to contract. How do the muscles know they're supposed to do that? We know they do, but how does the brain get the information to them? It travels along nerves in the form of an electrical signal from the brain to the muscle. And when it receives the signal, it contracts. The brain is also part of the nervous system that interprets the information. It interprets the incoming information, determines a response, and sends that out by way of the nerve to get to the effector. So the brain does all that too. In doing all this, I've just described negative feedback. The purpose of that is to, again, maintain homeostasis. So the nervous system is the primary system involved in regulation. Organs associated: brain, spinal cord, nerves, sensory receptors. The endocrine system is also a regulatory system. But as opposed to the nervous system, which does it through electrical signals, this one does it through chemical messengers called hormones. So over here in the picture, you're seeing all of the different endocrine glands, and they all secrete different hormones. Those hormones enter the bloodstream, travel through the bloodstream until they reach their target. When they arrive, their target responds accordingly. Cardiovascular system, this is the highway, so to speak, the roadway for the body. This is how everything travels. Cells don't just get up and move around and get what they need. They receive what they need by traveling through the bloodstream. They get rid of their waste by putting it into the bloodstream. The general function is to transport nutrients, waste products, hormones throughout the body. It plays a role in immune response because it's actually delivering white blood cells. White blood cells are found in the blood. Plays a role in the regulation of body temperature. Blood vessels constrict when it gets too cold. They dilate when it gets too warm. Constrict is to get smaller diameter. Dilate is going to become a larger diameter. Organs associated: heart, blood, blood vessels. So blood vessels, we're talking about like arteries and veins. Urinary system. This is another body system that's going to remove waste. But this actually filters the blood, and whatever waste products are in the blood, it will enter the kidney, go out the bladder, and go out in the form of urine. Urine is waste. So this is also an organ system that's going to regulate pH. Respiratory system was the other one. Ion balance is going to regulate the amount of sodium and potassium, and water balance. So if the body needs water, then urine is going to be darker because you're going to eliminate less. If you have a lot of water, then your body will expel that water in the urine. The urine is going to be lighter in color and you're going to have more water to it. Organs associated: kidneys and urinary bladder. There's more, but those are the only ones you're going to need to worry about for the test. Reproductive system, we've got two, male and female. So the female reproductive system, its function is to produce sex hormones, and the sex hormone we're talking about is estrogen and progesterone. And it also makes gametes, and the gametes we're talking about are eggs. Its job is also to support the embryo and fetus until birth. Organs associated are going to be the ovaries, which, if you guys remember in the rat, are found at the tip of that uterine horn. Humans don't have a uterine horn, they have a uterus. And then the vagina, which is the opening. Baby passes from the uterus through the vagina out the body. Male reproductive system, guess what? Functions are the same. Produces sex hormones, but what are the sex hormones? Testosterone. And gametes. What are the gametes? Sperm. And its job is also to deliver that sperm to the female. Organs associated: testes, epididymis, and penis. And again, there's more. We talked about the vas deferens and the prostate gland when we were talking about the rat. So those are some other organs. Okay, so that is it for organ systems.